Welcome back to the Edit it out, Jimmy. Edit it out. You couldn't make it 4 words. Welcome back to the 2019 WCS Global Finals. In the group stage, the clash of the Titans. We have Big Gabe. Big Heromarine Gabe. Known for his incredible size, his incredible skill, and other incredibly large things. Up against Classic. This is game 4 of the group stage. Heromarine went down 2-0. He was able to fight it back in game 3, just barely. And this is a game I really wanted to look at. If you noticed, this is the first-person camera. Because watching top-tier Terran players is, one, by the way, warning, like epilepsy warning, just general overwhelming feelings of vertigo warning, all those things. Because these players are very fast, and especially as the game gets further and further on with so many things to keep track of, a lot of these players average more than 1 screen per second, or close to it, which means they're switching the camera on average once every second. So it's almost as bad as a Michael Bay movie, but way more entertaining, and just as many big robots. So, we're going to be watching through first person. I'm adding on the production tab and the supplies, just give us kind of some perspective. And this was one of my favorite games of the entire tournament. It's an epic match, which is, of course, why it's here on YouTube, where you should like and subscribe. I'm trying to get better about begging for likes earlier in the videos before people tune out and skip to the end. But I think this was possibly the best demonstration of, well, both sides. There's a lot of drama to this match. One, Heromarine, just getting there in general. Like, Heromarine's always like, wow, I'm excited, I made it. Like, insanely good player. Also an incredible streamer. Stop making us look bad. And Classic had to get an exemption from the Korean military to be able to leave the country and go to Blizzcon because he's so close to his mandatory military service. So he's got a lot on the line as well. So, what are we looking at? It's Terran versus Protoss. A lot comes down to the 2-base versus 3-base struggle, assuming there's no super early cheeses or anything like that. Many Protoss players, like Classic, like to take a quicker third, and then the Terran player will usually put together some sort of timing to contest it. And really the effectiveness of that timing depends on exactly how well you've read the tech of the Protoss. Like, if they're going Blink, did you take any damage to Blink, or were you able to shut it down? Or even kill some of the Stalkers? Or if they're going Stargate, like, how many workers did you lose? Heromarine is a classic Terran. I say that. Oh my, the micro. Oh, what a save! And then he... Oh, well. He loses the Marine, but losing 1 Marine for an Adept is a great trade. But finding the timing before their economy is kicked in, they have too many units, but waiting until you have that critical mass. Because if you move out too early, you don't have, like, medevacs, you don't have stim, things like that, you're going to struggle. Another Adept coming in. Classic is just willing to throw away these Adepts here, which, if you're Heromarine, you got to be a little either concerned or... Okay, so he's going to try... the grenade. So, if you put a grenade in the exact right spot with the Reaper, it can bounce into the base over a hard wall. Which Heromarine kind of attempted to do. You saw he shift-queued it up there. But that's what I really like about the first person. He shift-queued it up. He's not staring at his Reaper like, I'm going to do this sick micro trick. He's like, well, if it works, it works. It's like, you got to do it perfect and get a little lucky, is what it feels like. I think the standout of Heromarine, of Big Gabe, if you would, let's use his real name, is his focus on production. I think more than almost any other Terran, you watch a fight happening, you watch anything happening on the map, and then you watch down here. You watch at the, I guess, the production box, or the selection box, I don't actually know what we call that, but this box, where units are built. Losing that medevac hurts. And that's why it always seems like he has enough to bring another attack across, enough to potentially defend. His big weakness, I think, sometimes is kind of try to fit a square peg in a round hole, if you would. where you're using a set of units like Marine Tank against an army that is ready for it. Like they have too much splash damage or something like that. But with enough talk, because now Phoenixes have come out from Classic, a common choice from top-level Protoss who actually have the APM to micro them, losing 5 SCVs to Phoenixes, as well as that first medevac, which was going to be used for either Widowmine drops or just supporting an attack. This is obviously a rough start. He's done no damage. There's a third base on the way. Classic has total map control, total map vision. It's in a supply block here. +1, Stim is finishing. There's no third command center. Heromarine, well, he's got to go for a timing. He's got to pressure the third. You can't just sit back. You can't play passive against a player who has a third base and entire base build time quicker than you. But this is that exact scenario that a player, well, he's kind of, it's not like only a single build, but it's a similar style. He really likes to play that momentum-oriented style where you sacrifice getting a bigger economy early for having an army that you can actually pressure with. And a lot of Terran players, and I think we'll see Big Gabe here, going for the third command center behind the attack, because a Protoss who's taken a third this early has, as you can see, sacrificed some gateway production. You need those minerals for economy. A beautiful bait, the Widow Mines on the top of the factory. Hitting directly into the Phoenixes, taking out a couple and bruising the rest. So anything he can do to minimize the counterattack damage, and while those units are on the other side of the map, gives more effectiveness to this push. A scan. You see there? Those are not charge lots. Those are just sentries. There's a couple shield batteries on the way. Tanks can handle this. He's really wants to get damage done before... There's no way to tell when charge is done. But those are just sentries and non-charged zealots. You can deal with that. They don't have upgrades. Look at that production. Watch the production. Also watch the game. Keep up. Combat Shields is finishing up. +1 is done. With Stim, that means those Marines are more than a match for zealots without charge. The charge is a huge upgrade here. Force fields, what does it matter? You can't get close to me. Once charge is done, they become a real threat, but being able to take out these shield batteries early is a big deal. Charge is done. Guardian Shield used. Heromarine sees the Widow Mines there. Did he retarget? He did not retarget them, but he's actually targeting the tank onto the sentries. That gets picked up. Marines microed back. Only the ones under fire. The ones who are not under fire, not microed back. The tank survives, and Heromarine continues that rally. The production, always the production. The Marines continue through. Target fire onto the Phoenixes, the only thing that's really a force multiplier here. The rally point continues. Production. Few idle SCVs. In fact, he doesn't even have a third command center here. This is super focused, constant production of units, constantly rallied across. He's now finally banking up a little money. You know what? Bam. Third command center. There it goes. Microing back here, but killing... Well, the third Nexus didn't die. Wait. The third Nexus didn't die. Without killing the third Nexus... If you kill the third Nexus, you're way ahead. That's the simple version. But if you don't get it, there's damage that's been done. Like, Phoenixes have been killed. A lot of sentries. A lot of gas has gone down. Everything's been slowed down. Obviously, Classic had to really focus on unit production. What is the worker count here? We can see it. Of course, the players don't have that ability. So, Classic still maintaining enough workers to continue producing. Heromarine adding on the armory. Sees that, well, no more Phoenixes have been built, or at least not too many. It's still going to be a ground army. The Archon is spotted. Will that prompt any other sort of response? Production. Ghost Academy, another starport for Liberators, because ideally you want to get to a comfortable medevac count, like six or so medevacs, and then go Liberators, or if they're going Colossus, Vikings, in order to complement your army, because you only need so many medevacs. At some point, the starport units are more valuable. 2-2 is on the way. Heromarine on top of it. Quick in the scheme of things. Classics is a little bit ahead, but when you're going for a very gateway-focused army, you usually have the gas and the time to be able to get a slight advantage, and Chrono Boost exists, so that is also a concern. Ghost Academy starts as Storm does, so not perfect for Heromarine, but he will have the response to the Templar. And now this is the sign, and this is the concern of many Terrans in the past, like throughout all of the leagues and throughout WCS, especially foreign Terrans have a tendency to be like, oh, I don't want to go late game. I don't want to deal with Storm. I want to just try to kill him. Heromarine is not that player. He might get stuck in his style, but his style does include a lot of Ghosts and Liberators. And honestly, with this most recent Blizzcon, he's proved very willing to adapt. And a lot of Terrans have taken to the Enhanced Shockwaves upgrade, the EMP Radius upgrade that allows it to hit, it's like 50% more total area on EMP, also effectively increasing its range. So yeah, Terran players have been a big fan of that. Making Ghosts a much more real counter to these very heavy gateway armies. +2 is complete for Classic, but Heromarine has it on the way. He's got a whole lot of production. We're looking at 5 racks done. I'm actually surprised it's only 5. He might be adding on some more soon. The supply is looking pretty even. Oh, the Prism drop, but he knows there are Templar in it now. He knows Storm is a threat. Where are the Ghosts? Notice how Heromarine, he only brings the units, he only selects the units he needs. The precision on the control is important. Because if you just micro your whole army back or split it all, guess what? Marines that are shuffling around aren't firing. Which means they're losing a lot of their potential damage, and that kind of defeats the purpose of those Marines that somehow pull the trigger faster when they do drugs. A beautiful EMP on the entire army. The charge lots evaporated by Widowmines, the high ground being utilized perfectly. The upgrades are even. A small group of units looking to snipe off the Templar. There is still a Warp Prism. The pre-split there. Heromarine takes a win in that fight, but backs off because he doesn't have the energy on the Ghosts, and the Warp Prism with Templar is a real threat. More Widowmines connect. The Warp Prism's still there. Does he scan for it? Vikings are now in the mix. Those are mostly to counter the Warp Prism, so we can zone it out away from his army. Another Archon taken out. There's the Prism. Scan forward. Moves into position towards the 3rd. Heromarine continuing. He hasn't started his 3-3 upgrades. He's really leaning on this 2-2 timing. Classic has 3-3 on the way. Heromarine has to expect that with 4 bases. Well, this is the point when either you want to start doing critical damage. Ooh, a patrol split there. Something I haven't seen used outside of the arcade. I guess I just suck too much. Disruptors are now a threat. Fusion Core for Liberator range. Just more EMPs coming through. Beautiful EMPs on the Templar with Storm. Production. More Ghosts coming in. A great split. That Storm was queued up. Obviously not ideal. Some more of the units come back. You can tell when he's caught off guard by the Storm, the units get a little scrambled here. Widowmines connecting. 3-3 still not on the way. I think that's more of a conscious choice than he's forgetting it, as he's desperately trying to keep enough units on the field. The spread is good. A lot of damage done. Disruptors hit the deck. More units going to take down the 4th base, and if he takes down the 4th, he has a 4th of his own. You can continue to have a lead when it comes to production overall. If he has 4 bases, he already knows the top base is not taken. There's a Widowmine or something like that there. A Widowmine indeed. Warp Prism at the back. Reinforcements looking to deal with it. Heromarine rotating around. He's now going to be a threat for a drop in the main. A few Zealots going to be warped in. Reinforcements taken out. The main is an obvious target now that he's taken out the 4th. Classic is probably going to have his army down there, and he knows he's not at the watchtower. Drops into the main. Pulls units back. Where did the Warp Prism go? I don't know if Heromarine knows. The Forges. He goes for the Pylon. 0.9 seconds. An EMP connects. An EMP on the Forge. He's gonna get 1. Cancels the +3. Cancels the +3.9 seconds from completion. All they had to do was hit the send key on the email, but he just pulled out the power plug on the Forges, and then he set them on fire. Well, or just EMP'd them. That would have also been a good analogy, but it was a little bit too on the nose. Getting those upgrades, because Heromarine only has 2-2. Biofights are very upgrade dependent. Now he's getting his own 3-3. Heromarine has found the only way he could be ahead in upgrades, which was destroying his opponents. And honestly, a little bit lucky those Forges were there. Take notes, Protoss players, but you take any opportunity you can get. That was a very vulnerable place to put Forges. I don't believe he knew they were there before. He's just like, oh, Big Gabe knows an opportunity when he sees one. Disruptors over the top. No Liberator range. No, wow. Well, Did he scan on top of his army? How does he know there's not an observer? That's a little risky. This is a risky drop. I'm not, like... Okay, now he knows there's an observer. Maybe he knew there was an observer, and he was trying to see if Classic would react to draw him out of position. I don't know. I think he just thought... Maybe not. Like, just give it a shot. But the Widow Mine at the 4th base actually spotted this. Which is a... Well, that Widow Mine has paid off in so many ways. It finally got cleaned up, but this split here. This is so hard to control without losing track of. This is the hardest part of the game for Terran, and you see already. Like, you have a good position. You gotta close it out. You gotta find an opportunity without losing all of your units to, like, Storm or Disruptors, because there are so many threats. He scans into the main. That's gonna be a little bit of a giveaway, but there are only so many units that Classic can warp in. He still has an army waiting. Oh my God. Well, let's check. Can we check the forecast, Jimmy? Oh, okay. And that is the struggle. Like, without Liberators with range... Oh, he catches the Disruptors! 1, 2, 3! But one does connect, but getting the Disruptors, you can replace those units. Those units are replaceable nearly immediately. Trading bio for Disruptors, anything that requires build time for Protoss is worth trading for. Build time or significant amounts of gas. So... You lose 20 supply for a couple Disruptors? Let's do it. All right, 4 bases to 4. Well, you have to assume Classic has a 4th at this point. The fact he's not going for Liberators, I'm a little surprised at that. He doesn't have... Well, he's a good economy, but it's not massive. Not as massive as himself, but he does have a few more command centers on the way. The orbitals, that's what you do when you max out. You have the extra minerals. At some point, you invalidate the need for too many SCVs. Oh, this base is taken out. Classic not paying attention to scan. I'm looking for DTs warping in, because otherwise it's a little suspicious. He has nothing there. But he has nothing there. EMPs across the board. Heromarine arcing out around. The boys are pulled. 4th base taken out. Boys at the front. Are there any Vikings behind? He will pull back for now. The damage is still being done. When he's still doing damage on the other side, there's no reason to force this fight on anything but his terms. He realizes Classic is distracted. Pulls things off. A recall comes out. Why not? I'll take that Colossus. I will lose all these units more than likely, but I'll take that Colossus. Just taking every opportunity here. And some have kind of fallen into his lap a little bit, like the Forges, recall with a Colossus. But if you don't take those out, that's the difference. No reason not to take the opportunities that present themselves. And when you do this many things, like you have a counterattack, defense, and then an attack in the main, or however many prongs you want to describe this as, then it makes it very hard for the Protoss player to allocate the correct units in the correct places. Beautiful EMPs, the shockwaves reverberating throughout the entirety of the army. The Colossi looking very angry as they retreat, their extended thermal lances tucked between their very long legs. But Heromarine has not given up much ground, and he just continually takes it from Classic. He has not overextended to any serious extent, and overall, this now going up a ramp into Storm and Colossi, there's no 4th. There's no reason he needs to run up a ramp into Colossi and Storm. That's his non-Korean Terran instinct. He's like, but I can still throw this game. No, my Terran friend. Simmer down, chill out, remax. You got like 5 bases to 3. And what's interesting to me is he really leaned on the Ghosts a lot more than the Liberators this game. There's other games like Ghosts and Vikings. There were a handful of Liberators, but it was never like I'm going ranged Liberators, or even Liberators at all. Finding this base, how long has Classic been mining there? Well, the fact he's taking gases means not too long. Sees where the army is. I mean, at this point, he's just looking for the game-winning fight. Heromarine has held on. The snipes on the forges were huge, but Ghosts are a higher risk and higher reward unit, I think, than Liberators. Like, Liberators are kind of a known quantity. They're very strong, but a few EMPs can change the game in a way that 4 or 5 Liberators won't. So he was relying on hitting those EMPs, which the enhanced radius makes it... It's not over, but 200 to 120 supply with Heromarine continually finding opportunities. He's just picking his fights. The EMPs across the board. The Storm's not nearly enough. The Nexus is next on the chopping block. The Storm's still good. The Templar Prey, he just throws them out there. He's trying to scramble them all. And Classic falls. Heromarine showing, well, the strength of Ghosts against Protoss. Using a very mobile army, even against someone who has multiple forms of splash damage. So, unfortunately, I don't know, if this is like a compliment and also an unfortunate realization. Just micro like Big Gabe. Between, especially the control at the start, if you really look back, if I was going to do a boring, analytical, in-depth video or something like that, I'd point out exactly the selections on the units that... Only the units that are getting hit by Zealots are moving back. The rest of the units continually firing. The same deal, like the Marauders in front to try to snipe the Templar before the Marines come in the back. Just the precision, and also, of course, the production. It's usually... You see a little more of it here, but it's still very hard to keep track of. The thing that decides games, even at this level, is not so much what's happening on the screen, though that's very important. Like, if you're watching a cast, you're not going to go sit back at the base and watch the barracks produce Marines. But it's the fact the barracks are almost constantly producing Marines and Marauders. That's what makes it this exciting and this close. Because if he slipped for a minute there, and it'd be very hard to notice until suddenly Heromarine doesn't have enough units to keep up the attack. So, he's like a machine. Some precision German engineering. But Heromarine, a strong match against Classic. Does Storm really even need to exist? Alright, well, should Storm be buffed to counter Ghosts? Should Storm also be an EMP at the same time? What do you think? Leave a comment. Like and subscribe. Does Winter make sense, or does he just say things to trigger people? There you go. We did it again. Thank you for watching. Congratulations to Heromarine. And make sure to check out more from Blizzcon 2019.